I found a new article about how to lose weight on a vegan diet, and we are going to go through it together. Hello and welcome to another video. Today I want to go through an article that I found about how to lose weight on a vegan diet, and I skimmed through it, and while it had a couple of interesting points, I think there could be a few pointers that would help people to do this in a more meaningful way. So let's have a look at the article. Want to lose weight on a vegan diet? It can be complicated, so nutritionists recommend these tips from a few months ago. So let's have a look. If you're already a vegan or interested in becoming one, you're likely already relatively focused on maintaining a healthy lifestyle. This here is basically something that you encounter in many different studies, which is called the healthy user bias. It's probably one of the reasons why if you don't correct for this in a study, that vegan diets often look quite healthy. There's not necessarily correlation between vegan diets being healthier than any other diet, but more people who enjoy a vegan diet just may have a healthier lifestyle altogether. So it's more like the people are already focused on living healthy and then they become vegan, and not they become vegan and then healthier. There's probably people for which this happens this way too, but just keep that in mind if you ever hear that vegan diets are healthier than other diets. Have a look or try to find out if they're actually corrected for the healthy user bias or not, because that can make a big difference. So if you want to lose weight, you're probably a little concerned that doing so on a vegan diet might be tough, especially from a nutrition standpoint. While it's true that eating a plant-based diet might make a weight loss a little more challenging, with some solid planning and the right information you can do it and come back healthier than ever before. Here's how to go about it. It's not really an issue about if you want to cut weight or maintain or gain weight. If you're on a vegan diet, it's always a little challenging because there are plenty of things that you have to be careful about in order to actually have all-around healthy vegan diet. But the article focuses on a few things. So whether you're already vegan or wondering how to become one, it's quite a bit repetitive. It's key to understand some do's and don'ts. First of all, don't rely too much on processed vegan food. This one here is really important. It drives me nuts, but so often I see people hear people telling me or others that they're healthy because they're eating vegan, and then all they're actually doing is they're buying highly processed stuff that's already prepared. They put it in a pan and then they think that's healthy. But just because it's vegan doesn't mean that it is necessarily healthy. There are plenty of things that are vegan. Nuts are vegan, and if you have salted nuts and eat too many of them, that's probably not healthy anymore. Even so, nuts by themselves are actually quite good. So it's really once again something that falls into the category it depends. According to the Cleveland Clinic, eating a veggie burger from a restaurant often means you're consuming the same amount of fat and calories you'd eat in a beef burger. That's because you just need a lot of fat to actually make many vegan things taste good. If it's not straight up normal vegetables, which taste good by themselves. And you probably already know that French fries and onion rings are technically vegan. That's what I just said. No, but that doesn't make them really healthy or good, except in taste. But eating too many of them will certainly going to derail your health goals, and it's just a lot of empty calories. If you have French fries, this is a little bit of potato but a lot of fat, and there are just no micronutrients in there. So what's the point in basing your diet around it if you could just eat plain potatoes and a few nuts, a lot of salad and stuff like this, where you actually get something out of your calories. Also, packaged products, even if they're vegan, tend to be more processed and contain excess sugar and salt. So if you're looking to lose weight on a vegan diet, it's best to try to avoid them. Contain excess sugar and salt for processed foods. That's true no matter what it is. It could be for vegans, it could be your average diet, it could be processed meats. It really doesn't matter. The moment it's processed, it's very likely that it's either contains way too much sugar or way too much salt, and sometimes even both, which is, in my opinion, is the actual problem when people start eating too much. It's not necessarily that anything is really good or really bad. It depends on the context, but those processed things, being vegan or non-vegan, they just contain many calories, and just to make them taste good, they have too much added sugars or salt. Sometimes just to make them last longer on the shelf, which is questionable too. But if you would prepare these things yourself, there would be a lot less salt and sometimes even no sugar in them, because you don't need any additional sugar in many things, but it tastes better, and that's why they add it. That's why restaurants add a lot of fat into your dishes, because it just will taste better. That's if you cook yourself and you do it in let's say an average way, you just add less fat than a restaurant would, and that's why your foods often just don't even come close in the terms of taste compared to a restaurant. It's a matter of adding more or less fat. Okay, concentrate on balancing your plate. Sharon tells Parade, that's the website, that balance is key. You need to make sure you are balancing your plate with the major food groups at each meal, she says. And that's true for everyone. Make sure that even if you're eating meat, make sure that you have everything on it. That you have proteins, a few carbs, in whatever form that you like. Just make it, a variety, and some fats. And then you're mostly already quite good to go, especially if you prepare it yourself. This means focusing on plant proteins like tofu, beans, lentils and nuts. Then add whole grains like oats, quinoa and brown rice. And this is what drives me nuts. Plant-based proteins like tofu, beans, lentil and nuts. So tofu actually has quite a lot of protein, which is fine. That's actually a plant-based protein. But beans, lentils and nuts, while they have quite a lot of protein in a relative way, it's not a protein source whatsoever. The main source you in terms of calories you will get here are carbohydrates. So if you eat beans, you're eating carbs, and you get a few more proteins in like this. If you're eating lentils, you're eating carbs, and you get a few more protein throughout your meals. If you're eating nuts, you're almost exclusively eating fats, then maybe a few carbs, and then you get some protein. So this is not a protein, no matter what the vegan people think. This is not a plant protein whatsoever. Tofu is. The other ones are just carb or fat sources that tend to have a bit of protein, and this is fine if you know it and you mix it up, and you're eating for maintenance, because then you actually might get, if you're doing it well, enough protein. But like this, if you're already in a deficit and you're eating mainly carbs and a few fats, it's going to be very hard to eat enough protein whatsoever. And especially if you then add even more carbs in form of oats, quinoa or brown rice. And even quinoa has some protein, and the potatoes has protein, but that doesn't make it a protein source. So this feels like this myth that is never going to go away. But gram for gram, calorie for calorie, beans, lentils and nuts are not a protein source. It makes me quite furious. So Let's move on. Pile on the vegetables next and add some healthy fat. Olives, avocado, extra virgin olive oil, nuts, seeds are good choices. And I have nothing to add there, it really is. Just, make sure that you're not overdoing anything, especially if you try to lose weight. Fats have a lot of calories, and it doesn't look like they have a lot, but they do. And if you're trying to lose fat, that's going to make it, in my opinion, just harder for most. Have fruit for dessert, which have it in small quantities, but sounds fine. You don't need a huge serving of each of these foods, but you should at least get 1 serving of each and more servings of vegetable, which will be naturally very low in calories. And I still think you need to push protein a lot harder as a vegan in general, because plants don't have that much protein, except maybe tofu. And in a caloric deficit especially. So it's really a problem that this is not mentioned at all. Don't limit fats too much. It may seem counterproductive because you might think including fats in your meals could slow your progress, but fats play an important role in your nutrition needs. Include some healthy fats such as avocado, olive oil to help aid in absorption of fat-soluble nutrients. So yeah, there are vitamins that you need fat, to being actually absorbed. So that's pretty fine. You're more likely to get nutrients you need. Absolutely right. And the choices of fats seem good to me, in my opinion. And your body needs fat also for other important processes. So cutting them too low will just in the long term make you sick and ill, because your body cannot produce hormones correctly, work with the vitamins that are fat soluble. So don't cut it too low. Really depends on your body size, activity level, but 30, 40, 50 grams, depending on your lifestyle, is probably the lower minimum you should aim for. But discuss this with your doctor if you're in doubt. Avoid major calorie cutting. You don't want to avoid reducing calorie intake too drastically, according to Palmer. If you do, your body will learn to adapt to lower energy needs in response. She says, meet your nutrient needs and don't search for dramatic rapid weight loss. Slower, sustainable weight loss is desirable and attainable, which is, in another article from their website where I went through many different diets, they had brutal ones on there that really made it absolutely not sustainable. Also have a series of blog posts on my website, which goes through the crash diet, how it works, why it works, and why you lose weight quickly. But then following up on this, why this weight loss will turn into a yo-yo diet and is not sustainable in the long run. So if you're going to cut weight, make it in a mid to long term strategy. It might take a bit longer, but you will most likely not regain it. But that's a bit more. That's another video. Pay attention to your hunger pangs. If you feel hungry, try drinking some water first. If your body is still telling you it needs a snack a few minutes later, take time to refuel with some high quality protein like nuts, which is just not a protein and it's a lot of calories. And I don't know what to say about it. It's not a protein. The whole idea of getting protein when you're feeling like this is a solid advice, no matter vegan or not. So keep that in mind. If you feel like this, maybe have a protein shake or some protein, actual protein. Eat tofu, but nuts are not the way to go, especially not if you're trying to lose weight. If you skip protein or any other key nutrient, you could end up feeling hungry all the time and eating more than you mean to. This is especially true if you follow the advice from above, where you're eating a lot of carbs. And many people just have issues with this because they feel like the need to constantly eat more carbs once they are in this carb cycle. I'm not saying this is like an insulin issue, could be, but that's not usually how this works. It's more you are used to eating constantly, and the lack of protein for many people, especially in vegan diets, makes your body look for things where it can find it. And if you're on a vegan diet, then you have not access to beef or chicken or eggs where you would get a lot of protein, but only the other things. So there would be more beans or nuts, which is the protein, which is actually nuts, and that's why they suggest this, in my opinion, which makes no sense because it's not helping you whatsoever. But it's right that if you omit one of them, especially essential amino acids, which would be proteins, and essential fatty acids, so fats, then your body will look for ways to get this, and it will make you feel hungry. Check your nutrient intake. Because you don't consume any animal-based products as a vegan, it's important to keep tabs on the intake of certain nutrients. Not only are nutrients important to your overall health, but not getting enough of the vitamins and minerals you need could make you hungrier. Yeah, that's pretty much true. So some of these nutrients include vitamin D. That's right, and you make sure to get enough vitamin D. Could be by sun exposure, by supplementing with it. So usually you would supplement with vitamin D3, but that's that's animal derived vitamin, and that's what works well in people. But as a vegan, you probably will use vitamin D2, which it just doesn't get absorbed as much. So check with your doctor, check your blood levels, and make sure that you have enough vitamin D. So calcium, vitamin B12, so that's really hard to get in a plant-based diet because you basically get it only from animals, and so you need to supplement with it to make sure that you have enough. Again, check with your doctor, check your blood levels, that you're not deficient in anything from your diet. Make variety your best friend, because you can eat pretty much unlimited amounts of veggies whenever you want. Taste the rainbow. Pile your plate high with different colors of non-starchy vegetables such as eggplant, kale, lettuce, zucchini, mushrooms, and tomatoes. You will be packing in the nutrients, plus you'll be enjoying new foods you may not have eaten much of previously. That's also another article I wrote, the rainbow diet. Just make it colorful, make sure to have 2, 3, 4, or 5 different colors on your plate, and you're probably getting in many different micronutrients. And as said, you can eat from mushrooms and zucchini and lettuce, tomatoes. You can basically eat an unlimited amount because there is not much in it. Just make sure to not add a pound of nuts and half a bottle of olive oil as a dressing, because then it's definitely not low calorie anymore. Be kind to yourself. Losing weight as a vegan is a great goal to pursue, but it can be a little complex to get the hang of it. It takes a bit for the number on the scale to budge. Try not to worry. Kick up your physical activity to boost your metabolism, and be kind to yourself, says Palombo. Find yourself a few favorite vegan snacks and factor them into your eating plan. Don't deprive yourself of deliciousness and take one day at a time. Okay, seems fine. So they're actually addressing exercise, they're not saying what, but they're addressing it. I would question the number on the scale. That should be not really your main driver, but body composition should be. So if you can kind of maintain your current weight, lose fat and gain muscle, that would be a huge win. And also, like I said in many different other videos, this article focuses on weight loss and not fat loss. You don't want to lose weight, you preferably want to lose fat as an average person, and you want to maintain muscle mass, and that's why you need to really push protein. Here's an article I wrote. High protein is the key to weight loss. where I go through different studies that I found that are basically telling you that if you are on a caloric deficit, it really doesn't matter what you do. There are two important things you have to really dial in. One is you need to be in a deficit, and the other one is you should push protein hard. And if you then eat more carbs or more fat, is not really an issue. Depends on your preference. So I will link to this, but that's really what it's about. That's really what, what you can do. Caloric deficit, protein, do some resistance training to build muscle and keep muscle, and just move more. The article is a bit longer, so you can have a read if you want to. Also, another article I wrote, the fat loss pyramid, quite a while ago, which is about, which the foundation of your fat loss journey should be the deficit, then your protein intake, then basically resistance training, then sleep. Sleep is really important because it can mess up a lot on your diet, not directly but indirectly, and then on top of it, some form of cardio. I will link to this too. Maybe you will like this. Then I have the crash diet. It's like a 4-part article where I really go through everything, and we basically go on a small journey. And also an article about the benefits of resistance training if you're on a very low calorie diet. So basically shows how you can maintain for quite a while your muscle mass and push fat loss, which I think is quite helpful. So what I still want to say is, if you are on a vegan diet, make sure that you track your protein in some way to make sure that you're actually getting a good amount. And while I'm usually not recommending or telling people that having a protein powder as part of their staple diet be a thing, for a vegan diet it might be really a helpful tool, especially as you can make sure to get basically a blend of different 3, 4, 5 different protein sources, like soy, rice protein, pea protein, whatever there is nowadays, to really get all the essential fatty acids, because that is the biggest issue you will face with plant protein. Firstly, there is not that many out there in plants, and secondly, you just have difficulties to get really all the essential fatty acids that you need. It's easy if you're eating meat because it's pretty much everywhere, so your body gets all the building blocks it needs to repair yourself and build muscle if you're in case you're training. But in a plant-based diet, this is getting a lot harder because it just isn't available in an easy way. So consider maybe having a protein powder mix to get in more protein without needing to eat that many carbs along the way in forms of beans and lentils and quinoa or potatoes. So consider this would be my advice. Again, many of the things you should consult your doctor. So do this, because I'm not a doctor and this is not medical advice, just want to give you a couple of pointers. So this article wasn't really that bad, but I think it was lacking on many points that should be emphasized more, like the importance of getting enough protein and resistance training, especially in a caloric deficit, and also that beans, lentils and nuts are not a source of protein. So let me know what you think. Would be cool if you could like my video and subscribe to my channel. Any comments would be very much appreciated. If you have questions, put them there. If there's another article you might think I should go over, let me know too. And until then, See you next time. Bye.